Hi everyone, it's Therese. I wanted to give you a little mini lesson on palmistry, and specifically I wanted to teach you about the shape of your hand, which is why I've got my nifty little Apple pencil here, because I'm going to attempt to draw. I want to show you what the shape of your hand can tell you about your psychic potential. Really cool mini lesson all about the palms, and specifically this one is going to have to do with the actual shape of your hand. Can tell you where your natural abilities lie, specifically in just how you relate to the world, and as well as some natural psychic ability that might be here, hiding in the shape of your hand. Okay, there are 4 basic hand shapes, and each hand shape corresponds with one of the 4 elements. So we've got the earth element, we've got air, fire, and water, all 4 elements. Well, each hand shape has something that corresponds with that. So I wanted to break this down with you right now. I'm going to pull up my notes here. We're going to talk about the basic hand shapes, and I'm going to try my best to draw them on the screen. This could be pretty funny, but we're going to talk about the earth hand first. Okay, so if you have an earth hand, your palm, good Lord, yeah, that's good. Your palm is fairly square. Undo. And your fingers, oh wow, this is good. Can you tell I'm an artist? Okay. So the features of the earth hand is the palm. This palm area is fairly square, and the fingers tend to be short. Okay, so I'm going to try and leave that up. Let's look at what the fire hand looks like next to that. So the fire hand has a sort of oblong. No comments. Okay, so the palm itself, where the earth hand is a square shape, the fire hand is oblong, and the fingers, wow. Apple pencil's not helping me, guys. Hold on, let me try doing this with my finger and see if I get a better. Yeah, slightly. Okay, so the fire hand has a more oblong palm, and the fingers aren't super long, they're medium shaped. So let's put a little F for fire. Okay, so now here we go. The air hand. Are you ready for this? You ready for this mastery? All right, so the air hand has kind of a squarish palm, similar to the earth hand, but it's not as wide. It's a little bit more narrow. Okay, but the fingers on the air hand, wow, guys, check me out. Fingers are a lot longer, and there's more. Wow, the best ideas. The air hand has a squarish, narrow palm with long fingers and the space in between. What? Stop some jazz hands. You guys are killing me. Just trying to teach you. Believe it or not, I'm an artist who people pay money for my art, but I can't for the life of me draw on a live screen. All right, so let's try this again. So if you had an earth hand, okay, your palm would be squarish and your fingers would be shorter. I technically have what's called a fire hand, okay, so you're looking at a fire hand here. That's not going to help you. So the fingers would be shorter, the palm would be wider. With a fire hand like mine, the palm is more oblong in shape. It's a lot longer, and the fingers are medium in length. With an air hand, the palm would be more square, but it would be slightly narrower. And the fingers, like, to kind of exaggerate, they're long, and there's a lot of space in between, especially between the ring and the pinky. Like this thing, if you're an air hand, you've got this sort of weird, like, tweaky pinky with a lot of space in between it. That's air hand, okay? And then the last one is the water hand. So a water hand has an unusually like narrow and very long palm. So the palm itself is long and the fingers are long. So slightly alien, you know, like just little petite long hands. After seeing my amazing pictures and looking at and going through our descriptions here, I think that people are already getting to my next point, which was put in the comments what type of hand, based on those descriptions, you think you've got here. Now, here's what's interesting. How many of you are finding that your hand corresponds with your sun sign? Meaning, like, for instance, Chris, I know. So I know Chris is an earth sign, his sun sign, and he's saying he has an earth hand. So it just kind of concurs itself. I would not be surprised. I can't quite prove this. I don't have enough empirical data to back this up. So let's talk about what it means. So the characteristics for each hand shape pretty much match the characteristics you would find in that zodiac sign. So people with the earth hand they tend to be naturally practical people, just like earth signs. They're down to earth. They're very realistic. They have a plan. They're really good at organizing. They're really good at getting to the point. They don't bullshit. They get right into the heart of it. Earth hand people actually have access to quite a few cool psychic abilities. The problem with earth hand people is that they can tend to be very realistic and practical to the point where they'll dismiss it, right? That's the obstacle earth hand people have to work through, is that they're dismissing what's cool because it doesn't quite, it doesn't have a practical correspondence. Unless the earth hand person themselves has done the work psychically or understands psychic work, then they're more into it. So here's two areas where earth hand people can naturally excel. And that is with the sight and with the feeling, right? So clairvoyance and clairsentience. And specifically, earth hand people are really good at seeing auras. This is something that can come naturally, is viewing the aura. It takes very little practice for an earth hand person to get into it, as well as chakra attunement. So working with the hands or working with the chakras, like in Reiki, right? Like, so energy work, specifically tuning energy centers, earth hand people naturally excel at this. If you're a fire hand, you have the qualities of the fire signs, right? Passionate, driven, charismatic, lively. These are the qualities of the fire sign people, like quick to action. The psychic potential of a fire hand person. The interesting thing, the obstacle that a fire hand person has to work through is that they get spontaneous psychic phenomena. So these are people who will experience things like claircognizance, who will experience clairaudience, but it'll be sudden and out of the blue. And what happens is, if you're not tuned to this, if you're not aware that you get this, it's easy to ignore it or dismiss it or be like, everybody gets that. No, honey, everybody doesn't get that. So it's important that if you're a fire hand person, that you need to practice something that keeps you grounded. Fire people are like this thing, the next thing, passionate. They're moving forward. They're like, chop, 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 let's get it going. They need to practice sitting down, sitting with it, going into meditation. Fire hand people naturally have very active dream states, possible natural lucid dreamers. And they would benefit from having some earth to help them anchor. So meditation can help a fire hand person anchor into their psychic gifts and know that when they get that perception, that's a real psychic hit that they just got. Also, using crystals. Fire hand people, crystals are your friends. They give you that earth element, but not in a not in a stodgy way that slows you down. It's in an attunement. So crystals really, because of that beautiful matrix that all crystals have, a perfect matrix, they really help you channel your energy and get a little bit more focused. So again, the type of hand that's an air hand is that square but narrow palm with longer fingers and a lot of space in between the fingers, especially the ring and the pinky. The characteristics of an air hand person are, again, heightened mental capacity. The air signs are the signs of Mercury, right? They're the quick-minded people. They're the ones who have this great ability for knowledge, for communication, for expression, and for vision, right? Like they're big visionaries, air hand people. Their thing that they get caught up on and why their psychic ability kind of gets blocked for them is that they're trying to rationalize everything. They're trying to make it logical and make sense in the rational mind, and they can miss their natural abilities. Because they want it to work in their logical brain. They want to go left-brained with it, where psychic ability comes in through the right brain. So things that can really help a air hand person, right? Again, claircognizance is a big one for air people, but they miss it because they're looking for the logical element there, or they downplay it by doing something like this. Oh, I must have heard that a couple years ago and I'm just pulling it back up from my subconscious, right? I hear a lot of air type people say that. So what helps an air hand person so much is a pendulum, because energy does not lie. They can't logic it away, and pendulums really throw an air hand person off because they can't rationalize it. What's moving it? You know, they can tell themselves that they're moving it, but in truth, the air, right, the connection is through energy. Their energy is moving the pendulum, and with enough work and practice with the pendulum, they'll come to understand the esoteric, the right brain. Not everything can be answered logically, that there are some things esoterically that are that defy logic. Clairsentience starts to kick in for them, right? So that's that gut feeling, that knowing that they tend to logic away. They're going to get it back. They're going to get that gut sensation and that deeper level of trust. Water hands have like the most unusual hand shape. And it used to be said that this was the quote unquote psychic hand shape, right? So a water hand, again, very narrow, long hand, like unusually long fingers, very narrow palm and long. And this was said to be like the psychic hand years and years ago. But now we're more associating it with natural sensitivity. So water signs are the signs of emotional sensitivity. The water hand people can't help but be empathic. They're sensing into other people's emotions. Again, water signs, naturally, the veil seems thinner for those water signs. They have a tendency to they can talk in weird ways, right? So they'll talk about things like, I was speaking to my guides this morning. Now, this is the way I talk. So, but we talk like this. We're like, speaking to my guides, and, this squirrel came over and I just knew it was a message. But this is true. This is how they think. People with water hands are natural channelers. They're naturally talking to the other side. They're natural mediums. The thing that can get in their way is just being afraid. Okay, so water signs, because they're highly emotional, they're very sensitive, and because things just seem to happen like that for them, it's freaky. It'll freak them out. So they, water signs, if they're not careful, or water hands rather, or both, can suffer from paranoia and even reading too much, where the other hands, the other other sign types will dismiss it, right? So an air hand or an air sign will be like, there's no logical connection, so I dismiss it. And the earth hand is like, there's no practical use for this, so I dismiss it. And the fire sign is just too busy paying attention to something else to see it. The water sign will look for it too much. It'll actually go into a state of paranoia and try to read into or see past everything, where not, there's a lot of really cool metaphysical stuff in this world, but not everything is hyper metaphysical, right? Like not everything is spirit. There's a balance in this world. We all can kind of like take it too far, and we all need to like allow some of it, but like not push. We don't need to push it, and we don't need to take every squirrel that crosses your path as a sign from God. Sometimes it's just a squirrel going after a nut, and that's it. This lesson, this little mini lesson, was about the shape of your hand. You commit to this process, you'll get a really cool answer. All right, sending you lots of love. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.